Welcome in to Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLugo. Thank you so much for being here on a Friday. We've got Jaguars and Cowboys, a massive Week 15 matchup for the Jaguars, certainly for the Cowboys as well. Both squads coming off big wins. The Jaguars are at 5-8, fighting for their playoff lives. The Cowboys, they're 10-3. They're trying to clinch their playoff spot here this week against the Jacksonville Jaguars. A win for the Cowboys will do it. A win for the Jaguars, and their playoff hopes continue as they move into the final 3 games of their season. The Jaguars had a triumphant victory in Nashville last week, while the Cowboys, they barely escaped the same fate the Jaguars suffered against the Texans earlier this year. They barely escaped against Houston and Dallas last week. They were turning the football over, making some silly mistakes, keeping the Texans alive. They had to have a game-winning drive to beat the Texans in Jerry World last week. Doug Peterson has plenty of history against the Cowboys and Dak Prescott, but not the Mike McCarthy Cowboys, right? It's been a little while since Doug Peterson was with Philly and taking on these Cowboys every single year. But he's got plenty of history against them and Dak. There's not a ton of connections between these squads. But Dante Fowler is returning to Duval, former first-round pick by the Jacksonville Jaguars back in 2015, 2016. Yeah. He'll return, and he's a rotational rusher for the Cowboys now. But not a ton of connections between these two teams. But this is going to be a huge matchup. There's going to be a ton of Cowboys fans in Jacksonville. There's going to be a ton of Jaguars fans in that stadium. That's going to be a packed house. It's going to feel like a playoff environment, if I had to guess. I think it's going to be really, it's going to be lit there at the bank in Jacksonville, Florida this weekend. So looking at the Cowboys offense, right? We're doing Jaguars-Cowboys preview. We'll look at the Cowboys offense, look at the Cowboys defense, see kind of how the Jaguars maybe should attack these things. First, I would like to remind you to follow me on Twitter at Jordan DeLugo, Generation Jaguar at Generation Jag. Hit that like and subscribe button, notification bell so you don't miss a show on here. I really appreciate y'all. Could not be doing any of this without your support, without your viewership. So you mean the world to me. Thank you so much. Cowboys offense. Dak Prescott, he's healthy. Missed some time this year. Has missed a lot of time lately in general for the Cowboys. But he's healthy. He's feeling good. But he has been putting the ball in harm's way a little bit lately, right? 2 interceptions against Houston. An interception against Indy the week before. He's had some turnover-worthy plays in both games that didn't go down as turnovers. So not taking care of the football the way he normally does. It feels like there's just a couple lapses in every game where Dak just, I don't know if he glitches or what, but he does not make the right read. So he's working through that right now, but he's still, a top 10 type quarterback in this league, a guy that is a field general in a lot of ways, very accurate with the football. Got a lot of respect for Dak Prescott. But if he's putting the ball in harm's way, you got to take advantage, right? There has been some movement up front for the Cowboys offense. Terrence Steele, their starting right tackle, he's out for the year with a knee. Who will the Jaguars face on the right side at right tackle? It's looking like it's going to be Jason Peters, maybe some Josh Ball as well. So you might not get off that easy if it's Jason Peters all day, who did play some right tackle earlier in his career. He is 41 years old, I believe. And then it looks like on the left side, Tyron Smith is going to be making his season debut at left tackle in this one. So you could be going against 2 future Hall of Fame tackles in this game. That's a far cry from what you faced last week against the Tennessee Titans. In that case, you'd probably move Tyler Smith, who's their rookie out of Tulsa. Really athletic, really talented young kid that needed some refinement getting into the NFL. It appears he's gotten that for the most part, and he's been pretty good for the Cowboys at left tackle. But it looks like he'll slide into left guard if Tyron Smith does make his debut. I will say this. Is it possible that all the shuffling gives the Jags an advantage up front? Maybe. It might. I definitely keep an eye on it. If you talk about having 3 players that have not been in these positions against the Jaguars, perhaps the shuffling and the newness and the chemistry will be a little bit off. So that could help the Jaguars. I'd keep an eye on it. But in a vacuum, saying you're going against Tyron Smith and Jason Peters at tackle does not sound very good. they've got more offensive weapons, too, than the Titans did last week. They've got a better trigger man in Dak. I'll take Dak over Ryan Tannehill 10 times out of 10. I don't think it's like a massive leap forward from Tannehill to Dak, but I do think Dak Prescott is a much better quarterback. I think they have a better offensive system going on here with Mike McCarthy and their offensive coordinator as well, who, of course, I'm drawing a blank on his name right now for no reason. But I think that they have a much better offensive system, more cohesive than what the Titans were bringing to the table as well. They've got a better offensive line, a better quarterback. They've got CeeDee Lamb at receiver, right? Michael Gallup, who's come back from injury, hasn't quite been the same. Noah Brown can play a little bit at receiver. You've got Dalton Schultz at tight end, and at running back, you've got maybe arguably one of the better backfields in the league, Tony Pollard and Zeke Elliott. Two-headed monster there. Not much of a deep passing attack right now, but they can kill you with the short to intermediate stuff. They want to run the ball, though. That's the crux here. You've got to stop the run. So I think you need to come out to a similar game plan as you had against Tennessee. There's going to be different variables and different ways to attack. These are not the same offenses, as I mentioned. But they'll try to ground and pound you and then open it up with CeeDee Lamb and company. So you've got to stop the run. Second week in a row. If you stop the run, you'll have a chance to slow down these offenses. I do worry, though, that CeeDee Lamb could have a similar performance to Amon-Ra St. Brown, what he did with the Lions a couple weeks ago against the Jaguars, just catching the ball here, catching the ball there, catching the ball everywhere. He's Roy Kent. Now, again, it's not going to be an easy task slowing down this rushing attack, but this is what the Jaguars defense is going to have to do. They've been a decent run defense for most of the year, and when you get rushing attacks that don't have the quarterback running element, they've been even better. But no easy task. Tony Pollard is one of the most explosive runners in the league today. He's right there with Travis Etienne. The difference is right now he's getting blocking up front, and Travis Etienne is not, unfortunately. And then you talk about Zeke. He's their short yardage guy. There, once you get in the red zone, find the end zone guy. Tony Pollard's more 20 to 20. Zeke is more getting those tough yardage. And I think both of those running backs are still playing at a high level. Zeke gets a lot of flack, but I don't think it's really deserved. I think he's still a talented running back, and I think they have figured out a really good way to use those two. I think if you're Mike Caldwell, you got to come here, run an aggressive defense, try to stop the run. You have to do it for the second week in a row and let the chips fall where they may, right? We know the Jaguars don't have all their pieces in coverage. We know that their coverage, when all the pieces are there, isn't even that good on the back end. When you talk about the left cornerback position, you talk about what the linebackers are doing in coverage. I know that you're a little faulty back there, but I think you came here to be an aggressive defensive coordinator. If the Jaguars are going to win this game, you've got to come out and be aggressive. You just can't lay back like you did against the Detroit Lions. You can't do it. You got to go out there and try to be the aggressor and let the chips fall where they may, in my opinion, because you're going to have to force some turnovers in this game. I just don't think that the Jaguars defense has what it takes to consistently force the Cowboys to punt. I think it's either going to be touchdown, field goal, or turnover a lot of the time in this game for the Cowboys offense and for the Jaguars defense. So I just think, again, force turnovers. Looking at the flip side of the coin, the Cowboys defense versus the Jaguars offense. Cowboys D, they do have some injuries too. Anthony Brown, starting cornerback, he's out. Jaron Curse, he has been limited in practice this week. We'll see if he's able to play. He is their starting strong safety. You've also got their best interior run stuffer in Jonathan Hankins. He's on IR for the season now as well. But they've got one of the best pass rushers in the league, right? You've got Micah Parsons, who might be the best defensive player in football. He's up there. Really, really damn close. DeMarcus Lawrence, one of the better veteran pass rushers in football. Need I say more, right? Like, these two are unbelievable. They've got reinforcements. They've got Dante Fowler. They've got some other guys that can come in and get the job done. So, yeah, it's going to be a test up front for the Jaguars offensive line. That's been pretty damn good this year in pass protection, right? They have been. But Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence are a different test entirely. Leighton Vander Esch and Anthony Barr at off-ball linebacker. Damone Clark, too. Really good group of off-ball linebackers. But that secondary, mentioned Anthony Brown's not there. Don't know about Jaron Kearse. That's where the Cowboys defense is at its weakest, in my opinion. I say you come out. You've got to try to run the ball. Keep the Cowboys offense off the field a little bit. Make it easier for Trevor Lawrence and these receivers to execute. But I say you try to come out and run the ball. If you can't, which has been the case for the last month, turn to the short to intermediate stuff in the passing game. And then try to take some shots. Try to get Trayvon Diggs to jump some routes, because Trayvon Diggs is one of the more talented cornerbacks in the league, but he will absolutely take risks. If you can make him take risks in the wrong spots and take advantage of those, you've got a big shot here to get some chunk plays on his side of the field. And you've got Kelvin Joseph, who's going to play at cornerback. You've got Deron Bland. Their secondary is a little bit ripe for the taking, in my opinion. So, again, I think Trevor Lawrence should be able to have a good game in this one. He's been thriving against all defenses, right? Doesn't matter if you're running man cover 1, cover 2 man, cover 2, cover 3, quarters, everything. Trevor Lawrence has been balling against any type of defense you throw at him over the last 5 weeks. And so I expect that to continue. So his receivers will need to show up for him, obviously. And Trevor, he is still dealing with the toe injury. Played through it last week. He was limited in practice on Thursday. So he should be fine. It's just one of those pain tolerance things where he's going to be fine, it looks like. So I think the Jags offense has a shot if his receivers catch the ball, as long as Cam Robinson or Jawan Taylor or whoever else doesn't have one of those games where they just decide to get absolutely worked by their opponent, which does feel possible against Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, and company. But I think the Jaguars offense will keep them in this game. It's going to be about, can the Jaguars defense turn the Cowboys over? If they can, I think the Jaguars have a legitimate shot to win this game. If they can't, it could be really difficult to keep up because the Cowboys defense is a quality defense. I'm not saying the Jaguars will run roughshod over them, but I think that it can be a competitive game as long as the Jaguars can force some turnovers. We'll see about it, though. Jaguars injuries, you got to watch out for Darius Williams. He was DNP on Wednesday with an abdomen injury. He was limited on Thursday, so moving in the right direction. Same thing with Brandon Sheriff, dealing with the same injury, an abdomen injury, DNP Wednesday. Thursday, limited, moving in the right direction. Andrew Wingard's been limited this week. Chad Muma's been limited this week with the ankle. Looks like maybe you get Chad Muma back, which could certainly help you in your pass coverage, help you overall as a defense, even though Devin Lloyd did play better last week. Andre Sisco has been participating in full. He's missed the last 2 games with a shoulder injury, so that's going to be huge for the Jaguars. When he's out there, you talk about forcing turnovers, he's a guy that can be a catalyst for turnovers for the Jaguars. And then the really unfortunate news for the Jaguars right now, Trayvon Walker, coming off his best game of the year, has a high ankle sprain, has not participated in practice. I would not expect him to go. Usually a high ankle sprain, if you're really lucky, maybe you can get back out there in 2 weeks, but it's usually more like a 3 to 4 week thing. So we'll see how it goes for Trayvon Walker. I do not expect him to play in this game. And again, looking at the Cowboys injury report, they've got a lot of guys on IR. They won't be mentioned here. We already covered those. But defensive end Dorrance Armstrong, he's been limited with an ankle this week. Jake Ferguson, their backup tight end, who's a rookie, talented tight end out of Wisconsin, he's in the concussion protocol. He hasn't practiced this week. Jaron Kearse, as I mentioned, with the shoulder back, has been limited. He's going to be key for the Cowboys. DeMarcus Lawrence has been limited with a foot injury this week. And then Dante Fowler had a DNP on Thursday, but it was non-injury related, so I would expect him to be just fine as long as he's not cutting up doing something he shouldn't be. But we don't need to dive into that, do we? That's going to do it here. I'm going to have our keys to victory and bold predictions on Saturday. You can come check it out. But I think, again, The biggest things here are the Jaguars defense has to force turnovers, because I just don't think there's any way they're going to consistently force the Cowboys offense to punt. I just don't see it happening. So you're going to have to force turnovers. Offensively, you can't have Cam Robinson crap the bed. You can't have the receivers just start dropping the ball inexplicably. You have to have your guys operating at a reasonably high level in this game if you want the Jaguars to come away victorious. And look, the Jaguars don't have to win this game to keep their playoff hopes alive. That is one misconception I know people have been looking at. If the Jaguars lose this game, they can still go 2-1 and have the Titans go 1-2, and you enter that Week 18 contest against the Titans in Jacksonville with a chance to win the division. Straight up. So don't have to win this game, but it is a critical game. It would be the Jaguars' biggest win of the season. It would be the biggest win the Jaguars have had late in a season in a really long time, dating back to probably 2017. But yeah, that'll do it for me here today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hit me up on Twitter at Jordan DeLugo, Generation Jaguar at Generation Jag. You can hit the like and subscribe button, notification bell as well, so you don't miss a show. If you want to support the channel further, if you enjoy what we're doing here, you can become a channel member. You can also check out genjag.com, pick up some new Duval gear. Have a great Friday, Duval. Thanks for tuning in.